Oh, there you go. Back.
Left.
Uh, I'm gonna take off my. Okay, there we go. I've got all your pictures and I wanted to be able to see everyone, so I'm going to put that at the top of my screen. Thank you, everybody, for letting me come and talk to you today. Now we've got this all set up, so we can have a good conversation. And it's 6:14, and I know about a half an hour. Since we're recording it, I think it'd be good if I go through this and we just record this part, and then after we can stop recording and have more maybe an open conversation, because everything I say today, during this recording part, is absolutely fact based. I've got references for everything. There's no hearsay. There's definitely no liable or uh, uh, bad comments or slander about any company or anything. This is all fact based. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with the U.S. Reduces team because I love your mission. I've also been on it for my whole life of just trying not to make waste to start with, right? I mean, that's all our goal. It's just the smartest approach to anything, including energy. The best electron is the one never used. I'm a big proponent of energy conservation and energy efficiency, but the bring your own campaign is just so beautiful and so simple, and so community. I've got my metal drink cup here, which is ironically from this store called Buc-ee's in Texas, which is filled with all the stuff if you're on a trip, and there's a lot of single-use stuff, but they do sell reusable cups, and it's metal. And I'm telling you, if I want to be a salesperson for metal reusable cups, the ice stays cold overnight. I mean, it's just tremendous. I wake up in the morning and there's still ice in it. And I'm here in our Houston house. We also have a house in Southern California that's really home. And I just took a walk, and it's really, really hot out. And even if you go outside, this stays cold. It's better than plastic. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here today. Uh, in the wonderful introduction, it was mentioned that I did have a long corporate career. I'm a chemical engineer. Had the really privilege to work with companies around the world, good companies who are trying to do good things in terms of producing footwear with no waste. I helped Nike set up all their sustainability programs back in the late 90s. I got PVC out of Barbie. I wrote their first sustainability report. Just a wide range of programs. But in 2018, my job was going to have to change from leading clean energy, a billion-dollar division for a big engineering company, to helping build new petrochemical plants. And I said, no, I can't do that. This is impossible. And they said, you have to. And I said, okay, I guess it's time for me to retire. So I signed my little severance paper and literally figured out how to start tweeting. And I sometimes rage tweet, but I have like a whole, 35 years of seeing all this greenwashing go on that I am now making up for. So during my 35-year career, I couldn't tweet anything about anybody anywhere. And so I guess I'm kind of making up for it now. What I want to talk about today is facts over fiction and plastic recycling and product labeling, but it's in the bigger picture of, how do we solve this problem around plastic waste and pollution. And the picture that I've got there on the screen is one that motivates me because it's a clean beach, at least from what we can see here. It's a clean beach. And when you have a clean beach, it shows that there's a clean ecosystem, right? Because the goal isn't just clean sand, no pieces of plastic on the beach that you can see, but it means, hey, there's no plastic in the ocean either. There's no plastic in the sky, there's no plastic in the rain, there's no plastic in us. And an overarching theme of the message I want to get across, which is I'll tell you first what I want you to remember at the end, is that I really think we can make such progress. This seems like such a daunting problem on a daily basis. I really think we can make much progress once we get past this idea that plastics, and especially single-use plastics, are recyclable. And I was just quoted in the New York Times. They nicely just did a profile on me and the work that I've been doing. And Judith Inc. was quoted. And all of this is a collaboration with everyone, everywhere. I work with people around the world. I've got emails talking with people, you know, trying to get things done, stop plastic waste exports. This is all a collaboration. We're all in this together. We're just, you know, like in Star Wars, we're just the little rebel team taking on, you know, the big funded bad guys. But truth can win, and I'm actually kind of optimistic today. We've won some battles on some things lately, and are getting some truth out. But we all just have to stay in it together. And I'm really interested when we get to the question and answer period around your thoughts and your ideas, because again, just like the Star Wars team, you know, we have to be clever. We have to move where they don't expect us to go. And I call it reverse Jenga. Instead of trying to figure out what block I can pull out of their house of cards, you know, what one block, and bring it all tumbling down, because I don't, you know, we don't have the capacity to bring down their whole house of cards. Let's see, here we go. Okay, so I was just profiled in the New York Times, and I've worked with the reporters for years and years and years, and they asked to come out and talk to me. I didn't know they were going to profile me, but they did. But I showed them my collection of plastic, and what I really liked about the way this story came out is it just really got the message across that we can make progress if we get past this complete industry myth that all these plastics are recyclable, like paper and metal and other things are. They are not. It's what's been blocking progress for 30 years. It's the industry's #1 greenwashing tactic. Thank goodness there's lawsuits. Thank goodness the California Attorney General's going after ExxonMobil on this, because it is, plastic recycling is, in my opinion, the greatest toxic greenwashing hoax of all time. And it's not just a greenwashing hoax. Oh, it's, you know, it's really not recyclable. It's toxic too. Just today I saw a picture of this huge fire at this I don't know if you have Albertsons where you are, and they have a big take bag. They have a big recycle bin outside.
Oh no, Jan, we are having issues with your audio. It looks like you.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. Oh, there you are.
okay. Is it okay?
It is right now, thankfully. But your screen sharing has stopped as well.
Uh-oh. Gosh, and I just got a booster up here in my office. We have to redo this again. New share. Here we go.
No, it's showing great.
Okay, great.
Oh,
Good.
it is?
Yep.
Okay, we're back in. Okay.
We're back in.
Okay. Yeah, well, this is what we do. We adapt, right?
That's right. You got it.
Yeah. So actually, I took her to the grocery store and we put a tracker in, and I'm just in love with these trackers. I bought so many of these, and these little Apple trackers. To tell the truth, we finally have a way of telling the truth about plastic recycling. And we put it in a yogurt bin, and within 2 days, it was in the local landfill. Of course it is, because there is no plastic recycling of PP5 in California. There's no collection. There's collection of it, but there's no sortation and baling, because the closest recyclers in Alabama, and they're not going to buy PP5 from us. And so she wasn't able to include that in. That got cut out. But the good news is that I think this message is getting across. In response to this, though, the Plastics Industry Association the next week's announced they're going to do $1 million PR campaign to convince people that plastic is recyclable, which is hilarious if you think about it. They're literally telling people, we're going to do a PR campaign to tell you it's recyclable, you know, not make plastic recyclable, but they've just announced they're going to do another PR campaign, which is what they're always accused of doing. So when I'm asked, well, Jan, what's your solution? I try to break it down, and I am an engineer. I was always known as Jan with the plan. You should plan the work and work the plan. I'm all about a roadmap and steps and schedule. I used to have to do budgets. Now I don't have too much budget to deal with or worry about. But here's my plan about how we really make progress. Number one, we accept science and economic reality. We just accept the science and what economics say. Number two is we stop greenwashing. And then three, we adopt rational and real solutions. And I think that's how we can go from this Brazos River picture that I took in 2019 of all these single-use plastics in the Brazos River in Texas, to clean ecosystems, clean worlds, clean us. So the key message is we need to be part of the solution, not part of the pollution. And I give this presentation to recyclers, to other groups like us who are all trying to work to solve this problem, make progress on this problem. But I really give it with a strong message to recyclers who I think, municipal recyclers and people in the recycling industry who some of them are actually part of the problem right now because they're really promoting recycling rather than reduction. So what should product companies do? Number one, they've got to stop lying to consumers about plastic recyclability and change packaging, right? Obviously, refill and reuse is the number one way to go if possible. And then after that, I think there's better materials that can be used. The recyclers have to stop greenwashing, accepting worthless single-use plastics. And I'll talk about that a bit. And then for consumers, obviously, we should avoid, we should reduce. And yes, we should reduce paper if we can too, right? Everything, but especially single-use plastics because they have the biggest harm on the environment and so on from start to finish. And avoid lying labels. Boycott companies who lie to us the most. Try to avoid those Nature Valley granola bars. Yes, they're delicious, but there's other ones that taste really good because they're just some of the most egregious greenwashers. Okay, so number one, step one is we need to accept science and economic reality. We are not going to collect, sort, and recycle our way out of the plastic pollution crisis. What I love, and since the last 5 years that I've been in this space, is this message is getting out there. You see it more and more. In 2018, that's when China, said, no, we're not going to take your plastic waste anymore. And a couple other things happened. There were some documentaries, and then the plastics industry announced expansions. And at that time, in 2018, what we saw was all these articles about, oh, let's recycle more. Oh, US will recycle more. And I knew like this wasn't going to happen because it's uneconomic. We're finally getting this place in 2023 where the truth is getting out that this is just not possible. So we need to accept that. And part of the reason this is happening, the truth is getting out, is because there's new reports coming out, including one written by me and published with Beyond Plastics. And then I've helped Greenpeace with a couple of reports that I'll talk about. Circular claims fall flat, which are all based on fact, traceable fact. This is one thing I learned as being the vice chair of the U.S. Federal Climate Committee. When we write these national climate reports, you have to have traceable fact to everything. If you say there's a high confidence that something's causing, this carbon emission may cause a storm or not, you need to be able to trace it all the way back. And that's what we've done in a bulletproof kind of way. We're bringing the facts to the table, and they're simply undeniable. And we've got decades of data. And what this shows is how plastic waste generation has just, it just ballooned in the US, also on a per capita basis. It's just absolutely expanded as we've had more plastic shoved at us with little recourse of making other options, right? Of making other choices that it's just, the plastic waste production has just gone up and up and up. And so based on data, we published a report. The EPA stopped publishing reports. The EPA stopped publishing reports on plastic recycling rates in 2018. They had numbers going, and I would look at them really carefully and count them if they were right. Or I even did a FOIA on them to find out how they were calculating their plastic recycling rate. And then they gave up and they just stopped in 2018. And the last number published was, US recycles 8.7%. And I figured about half of it was exports, right? And then they didn't publish anything. And in the meantime, there was this gap where the plastics industry started saying, we're recycling more, and the EPA wasn't publishing more data. So I did really careful estimates, and we published this report saying, no, US plastic recycling rate is really only 5 to 6%. And you can see my little table with the really careful data and everything. And literally the day we published this in May of 2022, the US DOE came out with their paper and also said it was 5%, which was like the luckiest day of my life that I had gotten, my estimate. And I had people look at all this data, and I get it peer reviewed myself. I do not want to publish a bad number. I want to publish a number, I really think is correct and peer reviewed. Out of the blue, the DOE came out and said, no, it's 5%. And so we were validated, and the plastics industry is still claiming our number's a lie, which just makes me laugh because the US DOE said it was the same number as well. What's important about this number is just it shows you that this is a trivial amount of plastic. Just a few PET bottles are getting recycled. The vast majority of all plastic is not getting recycled. It's never been recycled. Maybe more went to China for a while. It never will be recycled. So, accepting that as fact, recycling does not work for the vast majority of plastic. We need to stop greenwashing that it's recyclable, right? We absolutely have to stop saying that it is. So which single-use plastics really are and which aren't? How do we determine that? In 2020, Greenpeace and I published a report based on this huge survey, this huge spreadsheet that I pulled together, and I had it validated. It was the first time anyone had counted up all the material recovery facilities in the US and see what they accept. The legal definition at the US level of is something recyclable is just 60% of Americans have access to a recycling system that accepts a thing. And then you need then there's a second part that is it actually sorted and recycled. But the first test is the one that's most commonly used, and it already divides the chickens from the zebras. I don't know. It divides the plastics at that point as well. And then in California, we actually have a little bit more strong interpretation of that law, as does DC and Massachusetts. So in 2020, we did the first real assessment investigation. Up until then, the industry was just publishing its own reports. They were publishing their own little reports saying, oh yeah, all this stuff's recyclable. They invented this how to recycle label, and then they started slapping it on everything. It was just this whole made up scheme within the plastics industry. Nobody was paying attention. They were slapping these things on everything until our report came along, and we blew them apart with data. And what did we find? We found, by doing this really detailed analysis, that only number 1 and 2 PET bottles and jugs actually pass this first key step. Are they recyclable? And only they should get a label. And there is some markets for these things. Personally, I try to avoid, plastic water bottles and not use them at all. But legally, if you're asking, are they recyclable? They are. There's very bad markets for them right now. I know they're piling up in markets because I'm friends with recyclers, and there aren't buyers for it because the product companies want to buy cheap new plastic instead. But those are the only two. And there was just thousands of other products on the shelves with the recyclable label, even though those are the only two that even pass the first test. And we also showed that toxicity and economics are really fatal flaws in plastic recycling. What people don't understand, and we wrote a subsequent report about this, is that actually it's toxic to recycle plastic. If you've got, I've just got all these bad plastics. Here's this polystyrene yogurt cup and, you know, polypropylene drink cup. Yeah, they're all labeled as recyclable. They can't get recycled together. Just recycling these within themselves has the potential to create toxics. There's a lot of scientific papers coming out. They're called non-intentionally added substances. Why? Because you've got the base chemical in here. You've got the base carbon and hydrogen components, which is the plastic, but then you've got all these additives. They put so many additives and colors and dyes and pigments and UV stabilizers, and yes, PFAS, although, you know, those should get phased out. Gosh, and non-food things, they put flame retardants in it. So this is, you know, every single one of these things isn't just polypropylene. It's this whole Frankenstein's mix of all these other chemicals put in, right? Unlike paper or cardboard or metal, which are basically those things. And so it's just not possible to recycle these things and make them back into food grade products. Okay, so what our result, and then we updated that the study again in 2022. We just published it. Nothing had changed. It's only number ones and twos, bottles and jugs that pass even this first acceptance. And that first acceptance is basically based on the fact that's the only bales that are being bought in the world or in the US. Okay, so what types of plastics are not recyclable? Everything else. And this, I think, hopefully will resonate with this group, because I'm obsessed with stopping plastic in fast food. I am absolutely obsessed with it, because look at McDonald's, label this polypropylene cup, check locally, recyclable. The US EPA says only 3% of plastic cups are even accepted. Only 3% of American population has access to places to even put this. How can they even say put a recyclable label in any good faith? And then you get into the polypropylene problem when, again, Western US has no buyers for any kind of polypropylene to recycle. So many of these things I've got in my picture here actually have recyclable labels on them. Not all of them, some of them do, but none of these are. Now, the plastics industry and the recycling industry is telling us, but if you believe someday these things will be recyclable. They're not. They never have been. These things shouldn't exist. And, you know, I think everything I've shown here basically falls into your bring your own cutlery, bring your own plate, bring your own cup, you know, all of these things are perfect targets. Basically, everything in the top 10 items in the last beach cleanup fit perfectly into your motto of bring your own. And of course, cigarette butts, let's try to get rid of those altogether. Okay, all of this. So I did a collection that we did this, my husband and I. He's very kind to do this with me. I have to admit, we bought some of these things. I went into these stores and I said, I really don't want some of the mashed potatoes. You know, can I just get the bowl? But I had to buy the mashed potatoes and stuff in some cases. And there was some good ice cream I normally don't buy, but we did this to show how ridiculous this situation is, right? This is just egregious. This is just your extreme examples of products that are used for what, 10 minutes and last forever? And this absolutely has to change. This is in Starbucks. Starbucks has a recyclable label on theirs. A lot of these had recyclable labels. Some did, some didn't. I think all the bags did. But this is my obsession to end. And when we get to this, everyone agree, nope, never will be recyclable. We're literally using these materials that will last in the environment forever, or be burned and spew carbon. You know, hopefully we'll get to way more BYO and then better materials where that's not possible. This is another campaign that I've been obsessed with for 5 years, and it's to stop the great store drop-off charade. Okay, this just drives me crazy. And Bloomberg just published a story about about this. I urged the reporter to put trackers in bags, and she did, and this story was finally published. What we've got here is really the plastics industry invented around 2013 the store drop off for plastic bags to try to stop plastic bag bans. And it was just, I don't have data from 2013, but I think it was a hoax from the start. But the whole idea was, oh, we'll put these bins there and then people can bring back their bags. They'll think they're recyclable. I did that back in the old days. If you had them, and you didn't have a reusable bag and so on. But it expanded around 2013 with this How to Recycle label under the auspices of the Sustainable Packaging Coalition, which is all funded by the plastics industry and the products industry to perpetuate the myth that all these plastics are recyclable. And it's just so egregious. All these products, all these film plastic products, they started slapping the store drop-off label. So to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, they could all claim, oh yeah, all of our products are recyclable. Okay, well, there was never any truth to it. And anyone who does any basic assessment of going to look in the few bins that actually exist and see how contaminated it is, and then looks at, oh, are there any plastic film recyclers even recycling at all? And would they want that trash? It became really obvious to me that this is just made up. This is their fairy tale, right? It's our nightmare, but it's their fairy tale. And because they started labeling more and more things, and we all know there's this huge shift to flexible plastics. And so I've been trying to fight this. I've been trying to show this. And I actually got a reporter in the UK to put trackers in, a Bloomberg reporter. He exposed the Tesco store drop-off hoax, and that got 30 million views. And that was a good expose. It hasn't completely stopped it yet. But it wasn't really until these trackers became available that I could really start going after this hoax. And putting things, getting bags of plastic, putting them in recycling bins, and then tracking them, and then get reporters to expose it, and so on. And there have been a good couple of exposés. ABC did a big expose of dropping these in with plastic bags, and they all went to incineration and landfills, and so on. So I've been working hard to expose the great store drop-off charade, which is, just this long-running hoax around, you put these things in a bin and they're recyclable. It's just such a fairy tale. I still see it advertised. People are still like saying, oh yeah, go do that, as if it works, as if a bin is a magical recycling device. In California, when I was on the California Recycling Commission, I realized that our bag law actually is such that these bags in California should not even be sold for 10 cents because the law requires them to be recyclable in the state. And I knew they weren't getting recycled. And so I worked with my attorney who I had done a lawsuit on TerraCycle with. This is the same attorney that won the big Keurig case. And we filed a lawsuit against 2 retailers on behalf of the Last Beach cleanup. And then he also filed a lawsuit on behalf of an individual against Walgreens. Those cases are all moving slowly through the courts. And it's all based on the fact that these bags aren't getting recycled. And we also urged the state attorney general to take this on. And he announced last November that they were exactly investigating these false claims that the bag companies and retailers were making in California, and said there's potential for multi-million-dollar fines. And that case is still progressing. So, it's moving through the courts. We're getting the facts out. It's all very slow, but it does make me hope that there's some progress. This is the Bloomberg article that just came out. And there I am with my collection of plastic. That's just part of it, of my collection in California. And, when reporters call and say, can I come and take a picture, of all your plastic, I have to get it all out. And I did this a bunch last spring, and they I have to like get it all out and take it all out and put it out and label it and then put it all back again. It's actually a lot of work. And I'll tell you, I want to throw all this plastic away. I'm done with it. I want to be done. I want this to be over because it's like taking up this whole wall in my garage, but in totes, you know. But it's not over yet till it's over. And what this article showed was Bloomberg put trackers in plastic bags filled with things like Nature Valley granola bars. In fact, they called out the Nature Valley granola bar in the title of the article, which is "Don't Trust Plastic Snap Wrappers with Recycling Instructions." And they put them, I had already put some in some bins. They replicated my tracker routes, and then they put some, you know, in other parts of the country and got the same result that ABC also got, which the vast majority of trackers, the vast majority of stuff put in take back bins, goes to landfill incineration. I had one go to Malaysia and I had people in Malaysia go and look and find it and see where it is. And it's like in this dumpy place, of course. So yeah, it's getting exported too. And this is a picture of a Target one. That's how I put the tracker in the bags. I put it in the store take back bin in Target. And within a couple days, it went to the Target distribution center and right next door to the landfill. And the Bloomberg tracker also did that as well. Oh, okay. So the message, so companies need to stop lying and then start making changes, right? But first we got to get to them stop lying. That's what I've been working on. And other people, we all have to push from every angle, but I've been working hard to get them to stop lying. Okay. Recyclers need to stop lying too. This makes me really mad. I'm really fired up tonight. Okay. This is an acceptance list by Recology in San Francisco. Okay, Recology gets this aura of being super green. I meet people, I have a son that lives in San Francisco, and I meet people in San Francisco and they go, "Oh, we're really green. We can put all the plastics in our recycle bin." And I'm like, "No, you're the worst greenwashers in the country. They're absolutely green. Look at this. Coffee cup lids, cutlery. Never in the course of humanity on this planet, anywhere, anytime, is cutlery recyclable, right? All these things. Molded plastic packaging. No, that's not sorted. There's no one that wants to buy that. Plastic corks, that they literally are too small. They'd fall out in a MRF. This and coffee cup lids. No, those are PP5 or PP6. They're not getting baled. They're not getting recycled. I think Recology used to export all this crap to China, but I don't know that they are now. They definitely shouldn't be. It's still not illegal to do that to Asia. But this is absurd. Now, most across the country, again, vast majority of MRFs are now saying ones and twos, bottles and jugs. That's all, you know, don't put anything else in the bin. Let's help, you know, keep the recycling system going. But we still have a few recyclers telling consumers that these things are fine and they're recyclable. And then the consumers have no reason to BYO. Okay. So we accept science and facts. We get the product companies to stop greenwashing, the recycling industry to stop greenwashing, then we can adopt rational and real solutions. And I'm a math nut, so that's my rational and real cartoon. And this is just one slide. Reusables and refillables first. Absolutely. That picture on the left was actually from Hong Kong before COVID, where the partner of the Coca-Cola group there is Swire, and they actually set up all these drink dispensing systems around the city where you bring your own drink cup and you use your iPhone or what have you, and you pay, right? And you get your drink. So you enjoy your drink without any wasteful packaging. And I haven't seen those advertised since. I haven't been to Hong Kong since. I honestly haven't seen them anywhere else. I'm hoping they can still come back, things like that. Obviously, water refill stations everywhere. I mean, that and everywhere that they can be, you know. Unfortunately, there's a lot of countries that lack access to clean water, and that can still be a problem. But surely, you know, in schools across the US, I worked with a local water agency in Southern California to get a donation to put water refill stations in all the schools. They didn't have them, right? Just, there should be no reason for a plastic water bottle. And then everything we talked about around food and to go and bring your own and reusables and so on. And then, yes, I am a fan of paper packaging. Once, the things that we can't address this way, I am a fan of paper packaging. Paper can be produced sustainably managed forests. You go out to East Texas in the Lufkin area, you see these forests are grown and come down and they make paper, and it's a sustainable forest situation. There's good sustainable forestry certifications. I'm friends with the NGO called Canopy, which are really the forestry people, and I take guidance from them. There are good products coming on the market. The one I love in the middle is Quilted, which is one of the good paper company. I'm forgetting which one. Georgia Pacific. They're now wrapping their toilet paper, which is a necessity, in paper, not in plastic. Okay, in paper. It's fine. It works. So that, and then, yes, that can go in the recycle bin. Yes, we should try to avoid and make less waste to the extent that we can everywhere, but some things are unavoidable. So that works. I just saw this little candy wrapper actually this week. This is a paper candy wrapper with a very thin, I think it's a PHA or PLA liner, right? Okay, so it's not plastic. So if it ends up, so it is recyclable, it is compostable. And if it ends up in the environment and it's eaten by a goat or a dog or what have you, it's not going to kill them. And it's better than plastic. And then there's some other things as well that, there's so much low-hanging fruit in terms of getting rid of 6-pack rings. And there's new innovations coming on the market. They were always there. Some of these are old innovations, just cardboard, instead of a 6-pack ring. But until we all fight, we fight with our pocketbooks, to not buy these things and demand that product companies do it, they won't change. The other thing I'm kind of happy about is that over the summer there's announcements by a couple single-use plastic makers that they're shutting down some factories. Now, I really hope those, I'm confident that the workers will be able to get jobs somewhere else if they work in the manufacturing environment. So jobs are important. But Dart, who makes the red Solo cup, announced that they were shutting down a factory. That means that we're not buying their cups. This is great, right? That is a success metric. Berry Global, who makes all this PP5 stuff, they're shutting down, I think, 20 factories globally. That means that we're not buying it. If we don't buy it, they won't make it. It's really simple. And so the more we do bring your own bring your own container, and then demand that we situate to better things, we can help reduce plastic waste and pollution. So there we are. Thank you so much for your attention. And I'm just eager to talk with you now. So we just turn off the recording, then let's have a good talk.